Okay, so now with chapter 5, we conclude the first of the series of the podcast of redefining the paradigm of the new human being, where they operate from, where they work from, what their being is, definitions of what their being is, definitions of what the human action is, definition of how we need to work and towards what goal. That's the sphere of life and living. So with this last one, we will kind of touch upon and go through all the previous ones where we touched upon many topics, but here we kind of bring it all together because we need to talk about how humanity, how the life forms on Earth, how the elementals all tying together, and how our shifting the basic paradigms will redefine and restructure the civilization, starting from the individual human being to the collective to the entire planet. So let's see how we go about this. We'll recap certain things and we will move forward on certain things. So it'll bring the pieces of knowledge together. This is a bringing together of all that we have done in chapters 1 to 4. So directly jumping to chapter 5 will not make any sense unless you go to chapter 1 and 4. I won't be repeating much of the stuff here, just a recap. So remember the lie that we are told. Money, job, career, relationships, etc., that you have to have all of this on the left side to arrive at this point. So it's a very linear thinking. You start with this or you aim to get this in order to get this. That's not what we are here for at all. And what does this lead to? Let's just see that, because we examined this particular one already in chapter 1. Let's go to the next one. See what this leads to. If you just keep striving for money, job, career, relationship, all of this stuff, you're starting with an underlying paradigm that all of these are needed. All of these are needed to meet a structure that is already built in the civilization. Well, you're not going to create a new one until you first get rid of all these stupid concepts, and which leads to just a confused human being at the end who is living a very unhappy, unfulfilled life. Doesn't matter what goal you achieve, doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank account, or a job, or what people call you. People strive for titles like manager or this one or that one. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any difference to you as a being. As a being, you are different. We already saw that. So all of these things, the money, the job, the relationship, the success factor, whatever that thing is, striving for a house, your individual little house, your cute little 5-bedroom apartment or whatever it is, and cars and whatnot, materialistic goals that people set for their limited thinking. And then you worry about health, which gets screwed in the process, by the way, by doing all of this, right? So we saw that, and we see that we've also seen in part 1 that this is the truth that is real. This is what you actually are. You are compassion, your love, your balance, your knowledge, your understanding, your beauty, and you seek to create this inside yourself and externalize and create it through the world, through human actions. And that would create first a joy of being alive. Nobody talks of this, do they? What the hell is joy of being alive? Well, you get up in the morning looking forward to the day, to creating whatever you want to create what brings you individually joy. Nobody does that, do they? Nobody's happy getting up in the morning. It's unbelievable. It's like an entire human civilization is spending its time getting up. Let it be a kid and going to the school, to a person, to the kid's parent going to work or business, or let it be the mom doing her stuff, whatever it is, work and taking care of kids and everything. Nobody's getting up happy, right? So we have to get to that core first. We have to evolve and get rid of all the structures which are existing and work from a completely new paradigm, that we are this on the left side here, and we are this on the we get all of this on the right side through human actions, yeah, with one another. So you go from, this is not linear, even though it's indicated linearly as compared to the previous one. The reason this is not linear is because all of these on the left side and all of these on the right side are intricately woven through human actions. That means you are this all of the time. You are constantly seeking this all of the time. This is a circle. Joy of being alive leads to engagement, leads to knowledge. Compassion leads to regeneration, leads to service to humanity. These are all linked. Left side and right side points are intricately linked with the human action at different points in one person's life. So it doesn't matter if you say money, success, job, you're still trying to do this in the end. But this has to be taught in this way. This has to be actioned in this way. This has to be educated to the child, to the teenager, to the adult. And they should work from this kind of a paradigm rather than the previous one. And so we saw this versus fear of human being. This is the human being. Not those stick figures that they show as male and female or a child. That's just bodies. Bodies will come and go. Civilizations have come and gone on this planet. We are all here for a certain time. It's no point harping and weaving around that. We need to know and work that the circle in the center is the being. The outer four circles are the actions. And they are all interwoven together. And this is how we work, and this is what we should be doing. Well, if we take this model of the human being, and then we strive to achieve whatever is going on, or how to get to where we want to go as a true civilization, not the barbaric one currently it is and always has been for millenniums, then we must look at how this affects the basic associations. So there we have the basic associations. What are true interactions? The true interactions, I propose, as a beginning point. First, we should start with education and embodiment of the being. We are talking about the being first. We're focusing on educating the masses, and we're focusing on educating our children, our children's friends, our colleagues, everything, that this is what we really are and this is how we interact. All the blue arrows from one to another, if this is a representation of 4 human beings sitting together around a table. There are no stick figures, there are no bodies. We're just talking at a being level of the blue circles in the center and the action levels, what they take. So each one of these 4 is communicating with one another, but at a being level now. It doesn't matter it doesn't speak of which race, caste, color, creed, country you are from, does it? It doesn't speak of any race, does it? It doesn't speak of even genders, does it? Or age, does it? It just speaks of who you are in essence. And we are learning to re-educate ourselves with who you really are. So first we need to start beginning true interactions. How do we do that? Education and embodiment of being. First you educate yourself and you embody that, as in you work from this level. You work, constantly have this in mind before you interact with another person. Next, interacting from the level of being. So if we educate ourselves and embody that sense of being and then interact with another person, your whole paradigm shift internally and of the other person happens. You don't work as a body, you don't work as agendas for somebody else's salary or what that person is trying to get from me and do this and that. All that is based on survival instincts and a structure that is already implemented. Right? If you get rid of that structure and replace it with this one, you have a different paradigm, of a different model of working. That's how deep and profound this is. Next, acknowledging the being in self and the other. Again, this has to be educated. This has to be exposed in a different way. This has to be embodied by each and every person. So we are talking about a basic level of paradigm shift of how human beings see themselves individually, how we educate this, expand on each one of this, and then move forward, like we presented in the previous slide. So what does it lead to? It leads to harmonious interactions. It doesn't lead to discord. And it does, because it crosses all state lines, boundary lines, all race, caste, color, creed, country, race, etc. It crosses all boundary lines. It leads to harmonious interactions among countries. So it is. What else does it lead to? Mutual respect and cooperation, right? And when you see yourself as one of the blue circles with the four outer circles, and you see the other person also as the same, you're essentially the same platform. You're essentially having a shared sense of being. If you have a shared sense of being, you will have a shared sense of purpose. So simple as that. Then it leads to true teamwork and alignment with another, right? You're aligned with one another's goals, your contribution to one another, rather than always having arguments and debates about things, right? You try to understand the other from all the inner circles first. The inner blue circles have to be understood first. It's not about accomplishing something, it's about acknowledgement of the being first. And what it does is enhances one another instead of bringing one another down. It builds a true community sense in achieving a balanced sense in the circle of life. Now we come to the circle of life. What do we mean by the circle of life? So here we have come to one of the most fundamental mistruths that we have been working towards, or striving towards, or having goals towards. Yes. Now you got to decide here. You got to choose. It's all about choice. So you got to decide here, which is your home. Is it the one on the top, or is it the one on the bottom in this slide? If that's the home you are striving for, you will be succumbing to the structure which is already in place. That is, go through the laws and structures of the institutions and countries and laws and governance, everything that we spoke of. You're succumbing to the existing structure. Well, if the bottom one is your home, the entire planet, then your sense of self has to expand to include everything on the planet, not just your country, not just your little house of 4 bedrooms. So you have to consider all of this before you have to make a choice between the top and the bottom. What we are speaking of and what we propose here is the bottom. This is your true home. That is just a structure imposed upon you that you have to strive towards that. I propose you strive towards the bottom, and then you move forward from there. Because everything you're building is with respect to these two, which is hugely different. One is a very small, confined, narrow sense of self, which only worries about its house and its home and its little place, so to speak. And the other one encompasses the entire planet, which is a huge sense of self. So your self expands to fit. How does it? So choice determines the circle of life. We examined in the first couple of slides, first couple of podcasts. Sorry. So, what is it now? What are we talking about? Expansion of your sense of self, like we said, to include the entire earth. Only then you will have a self-sustaining life, because all human beings will act in that particular manner. Expansion of yourself to include entire earth supports synthesis. Expansion of your sense of self to include entire earth engages human spirit and being. See how this comes together? Expansion of yourself to include entire planet enhances two relationships, humans to humans and to earth at the same time. That brings us to another one of the paradigm basic shifts. We have been taught that we are these two stick figures on the left, which basically make you associate who you are with the body that you have or the gender that you are, the male and the female. Well, from this we got to transform it to the one on the right, right? There is no male, female, there is no gender here. Both of them are equal. And there is no race, caste, color, creed, again, anything mentioned here is there on the right. It's just you're bringing the human being to a level playing field. Doesn't matter who or where they are. So we are all built like this, we honor each other like this, and we work and look at each other like this. Then begins the shift. Only then the planet can look like this, right? There are no stick figures. There's no association of you being a male or a female. There's no association of you being from one part of the world or another. If you all say the center, the little pretty blue-green planet is my home, and it's surrounded by all of these humans, which are from every part of the world. There's no mention of any country, there's no mention of any race, there's no mention of any gender. If this is the model that we build, then and only then we can shift entire structures of everything, all the education that we have accumulated, all the work that we have accomplished as humanity so far, all the research, all the development, all the scientific, biological, economical, all the fields of education that we have accomplished so far. We can use it to rebuild and to develop this as a planet and as to one another, to enhance each and every individual's sense of being alive, joy of being alive, do whatever they wish to do, and yet accomplish a greater good. Individual and greater good, both are accomplished only if we start seeing each other like this. With that, I'll leave that to you. Obviously, these are very groundbreaking, path-breaking paradigms. So I'll leave this for you to think of, ponder on, for this first part series. This will be it. We'll talk about other things in the next part series. Thanks for listening.